Sup guys, MP64 here, your local pixel artist. Since the last video did well, really well, way better than I expected really, I'm making a sequel, this time and once for all, about the animation technique of Pizza Tower. So, without further ado, let's begin. And before actually starting, I'd like to add some stuff I said on the last video. First thing, this sprite. Yeah, I overdid this one to be honest. It has way more anti-aliasing than it should, and maybe will look more on style like this. This video is the perfect example on why it should be simple. If you notice it, Pepino doesn't have any shading on his much free and form running animation. Second, the game's color. Yeah, remember the snake thing? It's not wrong, but I noticed that depending on the contrast, some characters have a more cyan tone instead of blue for certain things, specifically Jerome and Pizza Face, because they have more colors than just blue, so keep that in mind too. Third thing, I clarify now some stuff some people missed on the last video. I'm using aseprite for this tutorial since it's the main pixel art tool. You should buy it, since it's the original program McPeak uses for the game, and depending on where you live, it's really cheap. At least in my country it costs 12 bucks. And I bought a plushie about him, it is here, it's cool. Fourth, subscribe. I don't know why, but people just seem to forget to do it even when they like the content, and maybe they just forget that the button exists, and from what I know, the button shines when I say the word subscribe, so yeah, that's something. And fifth, with that out of the way, let's start. One thing that you might keep in mind is that this tutorial is based around animations for a video game, not as media for consumption alone. This has some little differences, mainly in how many frames you should separate your character's animations, since in cartoons, all should be done in even numbers of frames, but in-game this rule can be a bit avoided. When talking about animation, it can come up intimidating to a lot of people, but to be honest, it's way simpler than it looks. The most basic thing you gotta learn is weight. Pizza Tower character's animation comes specifically from this point. Similar to the previous video, you should know beforehand how heavy is your character. The best example I can give is Mr. SiIvaGunner running animation compared to Pepino's one. I just noticed that I've made this comparison like 2 times in a row now of Pepino and Mr. SiIvaGunner. Well, it's a good comparison since both of them characters are like completely opposite in weight and shape and all of that. I will show footage of it. Nah, forget, I'm gonna just show it. This is a leak from something, but it's from Mr. SiIvaGunner running and jumping and shit, and you can really tell the difference between this and how Pepino moves. You should know also the attitude you want. The stronger the emotion the characters want to transmit, the faster the movement is. As it gets faster, it should use less frames. Pepino's animations between walking and dashing is almost non-existent. This, with his strong expression, makes him look really aggressive, and throughout the game it's like this. One excellent way to do this exaggeration, apart from fast movement and lack of in-between frames, is the size and shapes. For example, when Pepino does a parry, some of his body part gets bigger. Look at his hand for instance. They grow since they are the important part to remark. Or his whole head on this other parry animation. It's a really quick animation, with 0 to no predictability, would end up in a little bit faster so it's understandable what's going on. And at least in terms of design, this is for the delay, so it needs to be slow animation, but imagine for instance it doesn't have this delay. In this case, it will look like the final fight scene, with little to no delay from one frame to the next, being literally just quick static shots of Pepino. Again, this is because of how quick this is going. There is no cooldown between one strong action and the next one. But if we wanna talk about reverse situation for this, the running animation should be the best example. Starting really slow and predictable, as March goes on, it gets quicker. Compare March 1 start animation with a lot of anticipation to March 4 that skips a lot of frames. So, to summarize, the most frame an animation has, the slower it looks, but also looks more smooth and fluent. Talking about smooth and fluent, Pepino's idle animation. He's not running at all on this animation, and this is a really good example on how emotions can change how strong an animation is. He looks just confused and kind of tired, so it's not a fast animation, and also he's not moving. So adding all of this animation ends up showing really smooth. It has 17 frames. It doesn't sound like a lot, but a lot of other animations I've shown till now doesn't have more than 12. And that's the thing, since it's for a video game, it makes the most with the less resource possible. Like, when particle drops, they don't have one frame for each 360 position, not even 16 or even 8, just one sprite that gets rotated. Try not to overdoing it too much. If you want more movement, try doing smear frames. This is achieved by putting 2 frames of animation on the same one, and then smashing them together, making this effect. A lot of cartoons made with older animation techniques do this, specifically the first Simpson episodes, for example. If you see Pepino's running animation, it's only that, a lot of frames smashed together to make the effect of him running so fast you can't see his legs moving. Match 2 and 3 are the best example of this. In Match 2, look how his eyes stretch to cover more area. You should apply all of these techniques in your animations. Now, this is all for strong animations. Animations that show a lot of emphasis, but one thing that I've been skipping over and think that the most amount of artists struggle with is dynamic posing. Look at Pepino's back on the running animations. It's so curved, it looks like he has a bit of hyperlordosis. So you can trace a line inside of his sprite. This is the line of action. This should go as exaggerated as how much sprite the animation skips. This really shows with freeze frames or small animations, like the cooldown frames for punching a boss. Look how dynamic this looks. And after an impactful animation as the punching one is, the cooldown to the normal movement, it's not something that should look natural. It does, but it does because it has some effects put over, like stars and stuff. But that's over the point. The main thing here is that the action line moves with it, and it moves in a really natural way with the cooldown in general, like I mean the in-game cooldown. So to summarize, animations like running, screaming and generally fast-paced stuff should be really expressive and with a really strong line of action. Draw first the starting frame and then the last one. Then make frames in the middle and unite them by putting together more frames in between of those. Eventually, if you followed every other rule correctly, it should look really smooth, and hey, there you have it, an actual useful animation that follows every rule. If the animation is longer, don't take it as literally, but rather separate every main segment like this. You know how storyboards work? Separate actions by how much they change? Yeah, do that. Here's an example. And now, with all of this, you should be able to make pizza tower animations for modding the game or making fan-made animations, or just to toy around with. I'm liking something. Oh yeah, the small idols! Alright, this will be quick. If your character looks kind of stiff and you don't know how to give him an idle animation, or you just don't want to do it, but you don't want it to look way too stiff either, do this. Take the base sprite of your character and rub it twice so it gives this Ed look. Doise is the character that animated this way the most, so you can search up her sprite sheet to look at as a reference. And now, with that done, that should be it. I just noticed that I'm recording this at like 3 AM. Okay. I'd like to thank everyone again for making the last video make so high numbers. I'm sure that using rotating gaming as a base for the tutorial helped a lot, since almost all of the comments are about it, and it helped boost more the video. We'll also blame it to the video being uploaded like 3 days before the noise update came out, and hope I could make more videos like this. It makes some time to make every asset, so that's why it took so long, like editing all of this, it's not that much, and doing the audio is the easy part. It doesn't take more than 2 days. The thing that makes it take so long the animation. But for something, the video should be quicker to make since now I don't know what to make now. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Like, subscribe, leave a comment saying hola Jun if you got till here. No shit, if I see enough people doing it, I make more rotating gaming stuff. Maybe fun animation? Maybe not something related to pixel art. Probably will make a video on the Binding of Isaac pixel art too, or maybe Hamabits. These are just ideas, so don't take my word that much. Anyways, without any further ado, don't consume taxes and pay your drugs in time. I am MP64, see ya.